My ex-wife planned to take our kids abroad with a man she barely knew, so I exposed his dirty deals and made their dark scheme disappear into thin air. Hi, so I am 30 female and have 2 children with my ex-wife. I will call her Diane, 30 female. Diane and I met when we were in college. We were in different departments, but our friends set us up because we had a lot of common interests. We went out on a couple of dates and found each other really interesting. So, by the time of our 3rd semester, we were in a relationship. We got married about 8 months after our graduation and had our first child within a year of our marriage. At the time, both Diane and I were working, so our parents would take turns with our son, and that is how we made it work. But when our son turned 1 year old, Diane decided that she was going to quit her job to stay at home and raise our son. I did not have a problem with it because he was really young, and I wanted him to have at least one parent around. Plus, our parents were also getting older, and I did not feel comfortable constantly asking them to babysit. So, Diane and I decided that we were going to stick to this arrangement. She would stay at home, do all the household chores, and raise our son, while I would bring home the money and try to provide for a nice life. At the time, I was not earning much, but when Diane decided to quit her job, I decided that I was going to work much harder and get promoted. So, I would have more control over my hours and be able to bring home more money. I thought it was a great idea, but the only downside was that I was spending a lot more time in the office than I was at home. Initially, I did not think that it was going to be a problem because Diane had agreed to this. She was well aware of the fact that I was not bringing home enough money for the kind of lifestyle that we wanted in the long run, and if I wanted to get promoted, then I would just have to work harder. But for some reason, she started complaining that I would never be at home. Even when I would try to explain to her that I was working and spending more time in the office because I wanted to be able to provide for my family, she just was not ready to listen. She started accusing me of never being at home and even started suspecting me of having an affair because she just could not believe that I was actually working for that long. She used to complain all the time that I was not giving her enough attention, and I honestly thought that it was just ridiculous. At one point, we could barely even have a conversation without it turning into a full-blown fight. Then, a couple of weeks after my son's 3rd birthday, Diane told me that she was pregnant again. We were really happy because even though it would put more financial strain on me, I was just happy to be a father again. That pregnancy was harder on Diane, and it put a lot of pressure on our marriage, but we made it through. We did not separate until our younger daughter had turned 3. I tried my very best to make our marriage work, but I just could not because I do not think Diane tried hard enough. She had pretty much given up on us during her 2nd pregnancy, and that is what hurt the most. Things had become really bad for us because Diane and I were happy parents, but we were not happy to be with each other. The kind of relationship that we had back in our college days was nowhere to be found. It honestly just felt like all the love had evaporated into thin air one day, and all that was left with us was bitterness and anger. Even when she was pregnant with our 2nd child, she would treat me like a stranger. I did not even have the option of slowing down at work because I knew that I could not risk it. I absolutely had to put in my time, especially because I had heard from a few of my seniors that they were actually considering promoting me even though I was one of the youngest employees there. It was my hard work and consistency that was going to pay off, and I could not let myself slack off because I had to look after my kids. I would not be able to afford to give them a good life if I did not even have the kind of money that I needed for it. I desperately needed Diane to understand it, but I do not know, she just was not ready to accept certain things. I guess she had expected that even after kids, we would be able to maintain the kind of life that we had before. She was not okay with the kind of responsibilities that we had as parents now. Life was not going to be easy breezy anymore, and I just do not think that Diane was ready to come to terms with that. She took that out on me by blaming me for not giving her or the kids enough time. Maybe not giving enough time to her, I can still agree with, but I can never agree with the fact that I did not give the kids enough time. I was always there for them, and all the time that I would spend at home after work and on the weekends was dedicated to my children. After our daughter was born, I think Diane slowly started losing interest in making the marriage work. I suggested marriage counseling, but she said that we should not waste money. So, instead, I started organizing date nights and stuff, but even then, she would just not seem interested and would be cranky and mean all the time. We were still fighting constantly, and I honestly felt like she was trying to back me into a corner so that I would file for divorce or something, and she could leave me without the guilt of knowing that she was breaking apart our family. I do not know, it must have been something messed up like that, but what I do know for a fact is that she was really pushing me away. After our daughter's birth, she had given up. A couple of weeks before our daughter's 3rd birthday, we were planning on throwing a party, and I do not even remember what we were fighting about, but I think Diane and I were unable to agree on the color scheme or something stupid like that. I do not remember what exactly, but even that turned into a huge fight, and she started bringing up weird things like how I seemed to love the kids more than her and that apparently I had forgotten about my marriage altogether. I did not think that it was fair, so I brought up the fact that she had been refusing to attend marriage counseling, and she was the one who was refusing to give our relationship a chance. Somewhere in the blame game, I think it probably clicked in her head that this was not working anymore, and she just left. I am not even kidding. Right in the middle of the fight, while I was trying to talk to her, she left. She did not even pack anything. She just walked out of the door, got into the car, and drove away. I did not hear from her for the next couple of days, even though I was trying to contact her desperately. I went to her parents' house, and I also knocked on every friend's door, but I could not find her. I only heard from her after about a week when she came back to serve me the divorce papers personally. There was no conversation because when I saw those papers, I knew that it was over, and there was no going back from this anymore. We had tried our very best, or at least I had. I did not have anything left in me to give any more to this relationship, and I could not drive myself crazy trying to fix our marriage because I still had 2 kids to think about. Honestly, our kids deserved better. They did not deserve 2 parents who were fighting all the time and could not even bring themselves to agree on something as stupid as a color scheme for a birthday party. So, we decided to end it mutually, and I signed the divorce papers without much of a fuss. Then, there was the whole custody arrangement and stuff, which was pretty easy because both of us wanted shared custody, and we worked out something for ourselves. It was a relatively peaceful divorce because by the time it was actually happening, both of us had accepted that this marriage was not going to work, and that acceptance was what made things a lot easier to handle. I kept the house and one of our cars, she took whatever belonged to her, and that was it. The divorce came through about 3 years ago, and we have had quite a peaceful co-parenting arrangement since then. I would not say that we were friends, but we are on good terms, or at least we were until a couple of weeks ago. Our kids spend half the month with me and the other half with Diane. They are happy, and so are we. However, about a month ago, Diane invited me to lunch at a nearby restaurant and dropped a bomb on me. She told me that she was seeing somebody, and not only were they seeing each other, but she was engaged. It was a lot of information to process because first of all, I did not even know that she was dating somebody. This was the first real relationship that either of us had after our divorce, and she does not owe it to me to let me know, but at least a heads up would have been nice. However, before I even had enough time to come to terms with that, she told me that she was engaged to be married and that she was going to move away with him. This guy, let us call him Alex, is a couple of years older than us, and from what I know, he handles his dad's company. They are about to set up their business as well, so Alex decided to propose to Diane, and she agreed. In a couple of months, they are scheduled to move to Canada. Now, this obviously causes a huge problem because I live here, and so do our kids, and co-parenting was easy so far because Diane only lived a few blocks away, but Canada was a different story. I was really shocked when she told me all of this because she let it all out in one go, and I was not prepared for any of it. It was a shock that she was seeing somebody, add to that the fact that she was engaged to this person and was about to move away with him. At first, I thought that she was going to tell me that she was giving up the shared custody arrangement, and maybe the kids could come to see her during the holidays or whatever, but instead, she said something even more ridiculous. She told me that now, if I wanted to be able to see the kids, I would have to uproot my life and move with her. I honestly thought that she was joking until she told me that she was not, and she actually expected me to leave everything behind and move along with her and her new husband because she was not going to give up custody of the kids. I was stunned that she was even expecting me to entertain this ridiculous idea, and I really had no clue what to say to her at that moment. I was really about to lose my temper, but instead, I decided to play it cool because we were in a public setting, and I did not want to make a scene. So, instead of yelling at her, I decided to think about it rationally and asked her a couple of questions about this Alex guy. I am honestly so glad that I did because otherwise, they might have really screwed me over. When I asked her how long they had been together, I expected her to say at least a year or so, but instead, she told me that they had been together for just 6 months and had not even lived together. Not only that, but the kids had not even met this guy, and she expected me to allow them to take off with him and go live in Canada. When I told her that 6 months was not enough to give up the life that she had built for herself here and moreover expect her children and ex-husband to do the same for her, she laughed in my face and said that I was only saying that because I had never really experienced the kind of love that Alex and she shared. It was really difficult for me not to roll my eyes and shake her at the same time because it was honestly the most stupid thing I had ever heard. I do not know any other woman who would leave their life behind and expect their ex-husband to do the same just because she thought she was in love with some guy she had met just 6 months ago. To make matters worse, she told me that Alex had just broken up with his long-term girlfriend of almost 6 years just 2 months before he met Diane. Apparently, they had been at a bar, and that is where Alex had bought her a drink and asked her out. She had found him really cute, and they had struck up a conversation. After that, they had gone out several more times together, and by their third date, Diane had made up her mind that she was in love with this guy, and he also seemed to be really into her. So, when he told her about his move to Canada and asked her to marry him, she did not hesitate before saying yes. It might have been romantic in a novel or a movie or something, but this was real life. She had 2 children to think about and also an ex-husband to take into consideration. So, as much as I appreciate the notion of romance and love at first sight or whatever, I did not think it was such a good idea for her to get married to Alex and move to Canada with the kids. After listening to her story, I told her as much, so she would not be surprised when I refused to give up my life here to move to Canada with her. When I told her that I would not be moving to Canada with her nor would I be allowing our kids to move with her and that she should seriously reconsider all of this, she flipped out on me. She told me that I was just jealous that she was finally happy and doing better than I was, which is why I wanted to jeopardize it and sabotage her life. We were about to get into a fight at the restaurant, but I held back and told her to think about what she was saying and then get back to me later on. I was sure that this was just some stupid midlife crisis or whatever that she was having, and she would come around eventually. But a week passed, and she still did not acknowledge the fact that she was being a little too hasty in making these decisions, and they were probably not in the best interest of the family. I expected her to come around after a week, but then when I called her up to ask about her decision, she told me that she had thought about everything, and she knew what she was doing. She said that she was sure about Alex, and she knew that she was doing the right thing by agreeing to marry him and taking the kids with her. She gave me an ultimatum and said that I could either move with her, and her fiancé would help me find a job there, or we could do things the hard way and go to court with this. I am sure that she expected me to back down and agree to her demands, but this was just weird, so I told her that I was ready to let this go to court, and then I hung up on her. I spoke to my lawyer immediately after the phone call and filled him in on whatever was going on. He had already proved himself to be a pro at his job because he was the one who helped me during my divorce and my first custody case, and now that we were about to renegotiate this, I could count on nobody else but him. So, we did our research and found out that Alex was the heir and a partner in his father's business. They came from a pretty wealthy industrialist family, and that is probably why Diane was so confident about everything. I guess she thought she could just buy her way out of this or something. They were pretty powerful and influential, so it was no big surprise that Diane felt that way. But no matter what it was, I was going to make sure that my kids were not taken away from me. So, we really did a lot of digging and found out every little thing about Alex, his family, and his relationship with Diane, just to be on the safe side. Well, let us just say that we found out a lot of not so nice things about them. We spoke to a couple of business associates who had been dealing with Alex in the past and realized that he actually owed them a lot of money. They thought that we were calling on his behalf, and some of them did not hold back letting us know that he had conducted business deals with them behind his father's back and off the record. That is why they had been refraining from taking it up legally yet, but a lot of people had complaints against him. I figured that he was moving to Canada to escape from all of this because he did not want his dad to find out how he had been destroying his father's legacy, and Diane had been a part of this because we found out that they had not met at a bar like she had originally told me. I spoke to a couple of my friends who had kept in touch with her, and they told me that they had met at work. Apparently, the alimony was not enough for her to live on, so she decided to take a job as a secretary. She had been working for Alex's father, and that is how they met. So, it was very easy for me to put 2 and 2 together and come to the conclusion that they had been trying to get away from all of this by escaping to Canada, and they expected me to just let them get away with it. I am pretty sure that Diane did not even stop to consider what kind of impact this would have on our lives, talking about me and the kids. I was furious when I found out about all of this, and I decided that I was going to file for full custody anyway. She had told me that she was moving away, and I knew that I would be left with no other option eventually unless she, by some miracle, decided to change her mind or whatever. But finding out about all of this, I had made up my mind, and I knew that filing for full custody would be the right thing to do. Besides, I did not want my kids to have anything to do with her anymore because now I knew that she was dishonest and willing to screw over people for her own gain. So, my lawyer and I filed for full custody of the kids a couple of weeks ago, and I decided that I would not want her to have unsupervised visitation rights. She could only see the kids when I would be present at all times as long as she was around them. After all these lies, I do not think anybody in their right mind would be able to trust Diane again. She had clearly lost her mind and was willing to go to any length to cover up for a man that she had not even known for that long. I honestly believe that she got involved with him because of the money at first, and I am sure that he still has a lot of money to his name, which is why she is choosing to stay with him and go through so much. Diane loves her parents, and I cannot imagine any reason why she would leave them behind, but money can be a pretty good motivating factor. Anyway, I am not sure about it, and it is a theory that I have been floating by. In reality, I still have no idea why she is with him despite knowing that he was a dishonest man. Maybe she actually loves him, but putting your family at stake, that is not cool. After my lawyer and I filed for full custody, I received a call from Diane a couple of days after that when she was served. Of course, she was quite unhappy with the arrangement and claimed that I was being unfair. She was really upset, and I remember that she had been screaming at me about how I was a jealous and unhappy man, and that is why I was trying to take away her happiness by sabotaging her relationship with our kids. Thankfully, it was my turn to have the children with me, so I was not afraid of anything because I knew that she would not be able to take them and go anywhere with them. I was able to speak my mind freely, and I told her that I knew everything about the scam that they had been trying to pull off. I informed her that I had spoken to a couple of his business associates, and they had not held back. Maybe it was unprofessional of them, but it worked in my favor, and honestly, there is nothing more unprofessional than owing people money and then taking off to avoid paying them back. That is when Diane seemed to calm down because she knew that I was aware of the truth, and I could very well use it against her in court. Not only would that get her in trouble, but it would also stir up a lot of trouble for her fiancé, so she had to tread lightly with me, and she knew it. So, she started trying to request me to keep this quiet and said that we could still work out an arrangement where she would be able to meet the kids occasionally. But that was not enough for me. I did not want her or Alex involved with the kids in any capacity because what they were trying to do was dangerous and illegal. They were bound to get caught in it one day, and I did not want my children to be a part of that. So, I set forth a condition and told her that if she came clean to her boss, Alex's father, and promised me that they would not be running away to Canada or trying to get away with this scam, only then would I consider letting her have even visiting rights. I thought that it was fair, and honestly, it was more than what she deserved. She could play it safe, and I was just giving her the opportunity to do the right thing, even if it was just for the sake of her own children. I thought that it would be enough, but she turned it around on me and claimed that I was blackmailing her. I do not understand how it was blackmail because I do not stand to gain anything from this. If anything, I am trying to help her out right now because at some point in the past, she and I were really close, and I would hate for her to end up behind bars, which is exactly where she would be headed if she went through with Alex's plan. She claims that if she and Alex come clean to his father and tell him the truth about all the deals that they had conducted behind his back, he might be fired from the company, and his dad might cut off all ties with him. She tried to explain to me that Alex was just trying to start something of his own, and his dad did not think that it was a good idea just yet, but he could not wait, so he went behind his father's back to conduct deals, and the investment turned out to be a bust. But now, they could not even tell his father about it because he would know that they went behind his back and screwed things up for him. That would spell trouble for them, and she would not be able to take care of the kids anyway, so getting custody would be pointless. On the other hand, if she went through with this plan and escaped to Canada, leaving her future father-in-law to deal with all the trouble here, she would lose custody, but at least she would be able to buy herself and Alex some time. To be honest, I do not really see the dilemma here, and I think the choice is very clear, but she thinks I am a horrible person for putting her in a position like this and says that the condition that I have set for her is a diabolical one because she is going to lose something either way. I do not think it is that unfair because she really should have seen this coming when she decided to go along with Alex and screw over her own boss. I am still giving her a chance to clear her conscience and at least have visitation rights to her own children, but even then, she thinks I am the bad guy. I honestly have even started to think that I might not be in the right here because this is not my business, and I have no right poking my nose where it does not belong. My lawyer thinks that our best bet is to continue with the custody case and try to make her give up custody because that is easier, but I really do not know what to do anymore. Ida for telling my ex-wife that I will not give her visiting rights if she does not come clean to her boss and her future father-in-law about this scam that she and her fiancé had been pulling off behind his back. Hi, it has been about 3 weeks since I posted here, and a lot of things have happened. After a lot of arguing, begging, and bargaining, I was able to convince Diane that she needed to tell Alex's father the truth. There was just no other way out of this, and the more she tried to fight it, the deeper she would sink. If we are being really honest, her plan of taking off to Canada and trying to escape this while leaving Alex's father to deal with the mess was a bad one anyway, and there was no way that it would have worked. I actually did her a favor by putting her in that position where she had to make a tough call, and I guess she was able to come to her senses and realize that she was being an idiot. So, she made the right call, and she convinced Alex to tell his father the truth. She let me know later on that in a shocking turn of events, his father actually forgave him and said that he understood that Alex had screwed up. So, now he would still have a job, but he was being made to step down as a partner, and his father was not going to retire anytime soon. That is pretty much the short version of things. The custody battle is still ongoing, but I think that as of now, I might continue with shared custody. I think I'm going to have to cancel the proceedings because one thing is clear, our kids love their mother just as much as they love me. In the past few weeks, both of them have been driving me crazy asking me when they will be allowed to see their mother again. Even Diane has been requesting me to call off the full custody arrangement because she did as I asked her and even apologized for losing her head in the crisis that she and Alex had been facing. So, I guess my best bet will be to let this thing go. Okay, I did it. My lawyer and I decided that we were not going to push for full custody anymore, but just to be on the safe side, we decided that Diane would only get the kids for 1 week every month. With time, if everything goes well, we might go back to the usual 2 weeks that we have been doing so far. She has thanked me for it, but things are really cold between us, and I do not think we can ever go back to being friends or whatever. We are not on good terms, and I am guessing that it is going to be this way for a while, but it is all right. I am fine with it. I did what needed to be done, and I have no regrets. It has been about a year since the whole fiasco with Diane. She and I are not in touch anymore apart from anything that has to do with the kids. I would not say that we are on good terms, but yeah, whatever. I heard that she and Alex got married in a private ceremony a couple of weeks ago, and I wish them nothing but the best. I have also been seeing someone for the past few months, and it is going really well so far. Everything is peaceful, and the kids are happy, which is more than I could ask for.